Hello there guys, welcome to one of my live videos, and on this video this morning there is lots to currently negotiate about. The first topic of the development I'm going to start with is Edwoodward, and also later on in the video I'm going to delve into some more topics. So I am going to be giving you the latest news regarding Odion and Ighalo, also going to be giving you the latest news regarding Scott Mctominway, and also I am going to be giving you an update on some more transfer news like I have been doing on a regular basis. But revert back to what I said, I will delve into them topics a bit later on in the video, and I am going to start with the news regarding Edwoodward. So I was reading reports regarding Edwoodward yesterday, and it did say that Edwoodward is set to back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with more transfers this summer, because we do know that more signings are needed at Manchester United this summer, and he's come out as Edwoodward and he's defended the club's recruitment policy, even though a lot of people have criticised how poor our recruitment policy is, because our recruitment has been poor at least for the last 6 or 7 years. But Edwoodward has come out and he's told the Manchester United fans forum that they see this summer as an important opportunity in the club's rebuild. And he's basically acknowledged we're not where we should be, in challenging for titles. So this is what Edwoodward has come out and said. Obviously, Edwoodward has been our executive, chairman since 2012. So Edwoodward has been at the football club now for around 8 years. Of course, you've got the vast majority of Manchester United fans that have been protesting Edwoodward. Not only Edwoodward, also to the Glazers. But I did say, didn't I, we need to get Edwoodward and the Glazers out of the football club, because I did say overall anyway, we need to see a variety of changes at the football club. Since Edwoodward's come in, obviously, a lot of money's been invested into the club. He's also sacked 3 managers, so obviously, we got rid of David Moyes, we got rid of Louis van Gaal, and we got rid of Jose Mourinho. And I think, what Edwoodward should have done is, last summer, he should have appointed a director of footballing, and Edwoodward was actually keen on appointing a director of footballing. So if we'd got a director of footballing, then Edwoodward could have moved away from the footballing decisions, but there was quite a few, former Manchester United players linked with that director's role last summer. So reportedly Edwoodward has come out and confirmed that Solskjaer will be back to more transfers in the summer, and we will spend a substantial amount this summer. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to be still Manchester United manager in the summer transfer window, it will be his 4th transfer window as Manchester United manager, because at the moment he has had 3 transfer windows as Manchester United manager, and he has recruited 5 players in. Of course, last summer Solskjaer recommended Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire, and we spent nearly £150 million on them. And in the January transfer window, Solskjaer, brought Bruno Fernandes in for £68 million, and he brought Odion and Ighalo in on loan until the end of the season. So he spent over £200 million as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer since he got recommended in to the football club. This is how much Solskjaer has spent. This is how much, he has currently spent. But, yeah, revert back to what I said, I think we'll spend a substantial amount in the summer. And I think in the summer, we need at least 3 to 4 more signings if we are to be back to being a competitive elite level football club, and if we are to be up there challenging for major honours, because in the summer, there is still deficiencies in the squad that need to be addressed. I think in the summer, we've got to get another midfielder in. We've Solskjaer's planning and also, recommending 2 forwards in. We possibly need a left back, possibly need a right winger in that. So there is still deficiencies in the squad that do need to be addressed. But Solskjaer has been at Manchester United now for nearly 14 months. He's been permanent boss for almost 11 months. And I think one of the mistakes Manchester United did make was giving him the job on a permanent basis. The main explanation why we give him the job on a permanent basis, he's reflecting what he did, when he was the interim manager, because he did really, really well when he was the interim manager. But Man United have made a lot of mistakes in the last 6 or 7 years. It's not only the explanation, but it's one of the main explanations why we have been so inconsistent in that. Obviously, we don't only need to see more incomings in this summer, we also need to see more outgoings. We definitely need to see more players leave, because there's still a lot of deadwood at the football club. I know a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. I think around 9 senior players have left. Obviously, This year we saw Ashley Young leave the football club after he endured 8.5 years at Manchester United. He went to Inter Milan for 1.5 million. We saw, Marcus Rojo go out on loan to Estudiantes. We saw Darmian go last summer. We saw Ander Herrera go last summer. Marion Fellaini, he went in January 2019. We saw Romelu Lukaku leave the football club. Maybe that was one mistake Manchester United also did make, was getting rid of Romelu Lukaku. Obviously, he had to go anywhere because he initially lost his place in the team, but I thought he enjoyed a good first season with Manchester United. Lukaku scored 42 goals in 96 games in his 2 years he endured with Manchester United, and now he's doing really, really well for Inter Milan. I'm happy with the money we generated from his departure, because we got around £75 million for Romelu. Well, I think it was around 75 million, so more or less we recoup the money that we paid for him from Everton back in 2017. And also too, we got rid of Alexis Sanchez and we put him out on loan to Inter Milan. Obviously, Solskjaer provided us with some news regarding Sanchez. Like I mentioned yesterday, he did say now that the club are trying to find a buyer for Sanchez. Even despite the fact that Solskjaer came out last month and said, Sanchez will be coming back to Man United in the summer and he will prove everybody wrong. But I don't see it now currently happening if I'm going to be quite honest with you. So yeah, revert back to what I said, a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. Like I updated you the other day, Man United have given their, verdict on Solskjaer, and they've basically said he will only be sacked on one condition, and that's if Manchester United fail to qualify for the Champions League, this season. And of course, if we do finish out of the top six, so if we finish out the top six and we don't qualify for the Champions League, then more than likely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be sacked as Manchester United manager. Obviously, he's got 2.5 years left on his deal, so if Man United do decide to sack him with any time in this 2.5 year period, Man United will have to pay something in compensation to get rid of him. I think it got revealed the other week how much we'd have to pay, and we'd have to pay around, £5 million. Obviously, our sponsors, Adidas and Chevrolet, they've got substantial clauses in their contracts. So if we don't get any European football, for next season, that could affect also our summer transfer business. So this is another reason, why Champions League football is very imperative. But like I've mentioned, we are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. We've had success up and down the generations. And I still believe, despite the fact that we've been inconsistent for so many years now, that we have got the resources and the backing of the club to get the right calibre players to Manchester United, and that. There's still players that need to go in the summer. I've already said the players that need to go in the summer. I think we need to get rid of Phil Jones. We need to get rid of Nemanja Matic. We need to get rid of Jesse Lingard. We need to get rid of Andres Pereira. We possibly need to get rid of Luke Shaw, because obviously Brandon Williams is now our first choice left back. And all them players I've just mentioned here, I think, are liabilities at Manchester United. Anthony Martial, if he continues the bad run of form, then I think, we need to consider getting rid of him in the summer as well. So us selling players in the summer, will generate more money anywhere. That's what will generate more money. So, and I think definitely, Paul Pogba's going in the summer, like he's recently revealed. So, yeah. But, Solskjaer, has confirmed who wants to recommend in the summer. He still wants to continue the policy of recruiting young players into Manchester United, like he currently did do last summer and that. But there's a lot of players, who Manchester United anywhere could go in for in the summer transfer window. Now, I'm going to give you the latest news regarding Odion Ighalo. It's a lot of positivities coming out about Odion Ighalo, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has confirmed that Odion Ighalo will be making his debut against Chelsea after the winter break, and he's confirmed he will be travelling with the rest of the Manchester United squad to Stamford Bridge and that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Odion Ighalo does on his debut. Of course, Manchester United have got him on loan until the end of the season. Obviously, we're paying a third of his wages. And like I mentioned, Odion Ighalo is a good cover-up to Marcus Rashford. He's also a good alternative to Martial. Obviously, you've got Rashford that's out at least for the next couple of months. you know, because he's got a back injury. You know, could he be out for the rest of the season? Well, I'm hopeful that he's not, because he has been one of our best players this season as Marcus Rashford, and he's definitely, you know, one of the players I would be determined to keep. But Odion Ighalo is fighting for Anthony Martial's role. He's fighting for Anthony Martial's role, is Odion Ighalo. And I think we need to put Odion Ighalo in that number 9 role, you know, definitely. And I think we need to drop Martial completely, or we need to put him back on the left-hand side, because that's Martial's predominant position anywhere. Because analysing the vast majority of his career with Man United, and he's now into his 5th season at the football club, you know, in like the 4 years he's been on that left-hand side. It's only been this season that, you know, he's been operating in that number 9 role, Anthony Martial and that. But he has received a lot of criticism recently. You know, do you think the criticism is a bit over the top? You know, he's still only young. He is only at the age of 24, is Anthony Martial and that. So, yeah, that's been confirmed. Odion Ighalo will be making his debut against Chelsea, even though he wasn't part of the warm weather training camp in Spain. He didn't go because, you know, because of the fears of the coronavirus that's been spreading around. So, yeah. But I do believe he'll do well. He'll get his opportunities. You know, don't forget he's well proven in the Premier League. You know, had 3 years at Watford. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, how he, you know, plays. News on Scott McTominway. You know, very, very good news regarding him. He was part of the warm weather training camp in Spain with Scott McTominway. He was part of the warm weather training camp, yeah. And, you know, Solskjaer came out and said, you know, he's recovering well from his knee injury. He is now back in full training, so he should be, you know, back for the game against Chelsea, should Scott McTominway in that. Again, McTominway is another one of the players at Man United I would be determined to keep, because before he got injured, I thought he was very, very good, and he has been a revelation this season as Scott McTominway, and I do believe him alongside Fred, you know, have complemented each other fantastically well. And I think Fred tends to play very, very well when he's playing alongside McTominway. Maybe when he plays alongside Matic, he can still play well, but, you know, I think he mainly plays well when he's playing alongside McTominway, does Fred. And Fred's another one of our players I would be determined to keep, because I think recently he has rejuvenated himself. So, yeah, so McTominway should be back for Chelsea. Paul Pogba, he wasn't part of the warm weather training camp in Spain, because obviously he was continuing his rehabilitation from his ankle injury. Paul Pogba could still possibly be back for Chelsea. I haven't really had an update of what's happening with Paul Pogba at the moment. The only thing I know that is he's going to be leaving the club in the summer, because he's already told our teammates. Man United have reportedly slashed around £30 million off his valuation, so we want around £150 million for Paul Pogba in the summer transfer window. In comparison to what we wanted last summer, because last summer we wanted £180 million, and Real Madrid, of course, were reluctant to meet this. Of course, there was a lot of speculation about him possibly making a return back to Turin, because Pogba did endure 4 good years in Turin with Juventus, but the vast majority of his performances at Man United since he rejoined in 2016 have been totally comparison, because we paid £89 million for Paul Pogba. He is our most expensive signing. Of course, not only that, he is one of the highest paid players at the football club, because he's on around, £290,000 a week. And, you know, he's now heading into the final year of his contract. Man United, you know, do have the option to extend his contract by a further year, but I'm very sceptical that Man United, you know, will currently do this. So I think in the summer he'll either go to Real Madrid or he will go back to Juventus. You know, he's got the same perception as what he had last summer, though, because at the beginning of last summer, Paul Pogba revealed that he wanted to leave the football club. But his appearances have been limited this season, you know, due to the injuries he's had. I think he's only played 8 games this season as Paul Pogba, because he's obviously, you know, been out with an ankle injury and that. But the good news is, I think, you know, he is close to returning that. Some United fans, you know, would want to keep Paul Pogba. Some United fans would like to see Paul Pogba go. But, you know, I think there'd be a good partnership in our midfield, you know, Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes. But again, on the other hand, if we get Jack Grealish in the summer, then we can basically afford to lose Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba is only the age of 26. He's still in his prime, and he has still got a lot of development in him. But he is on his way out of the football club in the summer. But initially, Bruno Fernandes is the adequate replacement for Pogba. But if we get Jack Grealish, then you can say Grealish is the adequate replacement for Paul Pogba and that. But, you know, We will currently see, but he's definitely not going to be going in the summer. I'm surprised he didn't go last summer. I'm surprised he didn't go in January. Obviously, there was a lot of speculation about Pogba going under the Jose Mourinho era, reflecting on the bad relationship he did have with Jose Mourinho. But Pogba got one of his best wishes when Jose Mourinho got sacked basically from the football club. Also, we know that Eric Bailly is also now back from injury, which is very, very good news. He hasn't played since he's come back from injury. Some United fans would get rid of him, not due to him being a bad player, due to how injury prone he is, because he has sustained a lot of injuries as a Manchester United player. Bailly is now into his 4th season at the club. We got him from Villarreal back in 2016, Eric Bailly. And, he will get his opportunities, though. Obviously, you've got Fosu that's now back from injury, which is very, very good. I think Solskjaer mainly views him as a right-back. And, Tuan Zebe, he's been out injured, but now I think he's back because he was also part of the warm weather training camp in Spain. So, yeah, it's good that, players are coming back from injury. But, we've had a lot of injuries this season, but that's not excusable, for how inconsistent Manchester United have been. It isn't excusable in that. But, we have got quite a few ambitions this season. And one of those ambitions is to finish in the top 4. Because we need that top 4, like I mentioned. We're 6 points behind Chelsea at the moment, but the only main explanation why we're in that top 4 is because Chelsea have been so inconsistent. But we've got to get back to winning ways against Chelsea because, we're winless in our last 3 Premier League games. And I think that game against Chelsea could decide who finishes in the top 4, to be quite honest with you. Definitely could. But, there's a few teams in that top 4 race, definitely in that. And, we also need to get some silverware on the board. That's very imperative. We can win the Europa League, plus that's another route to Champions League football. And we can also win the FA Cup. That's a chance of getting some silverware on the current board and that. And we have lacked silverware in the last 6 or 7 years. We've only won since Ferguson's retirement. We only won the FA Cup under Louis van Gaal era and won the Europa League and League Cup in Jose Mourinho's first season at Manchester United and that. And we haven't won out as yet, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, got currently recommended in. So it is very, very important and we can get some silverware on the board. It'll be interesting to see how Solskjaer approaches the game against Chelsea. It'd be interesting to see how he approaches the game against Chelsea because, I said, didn't I think we look much better with 3 at the back. That's my perception on it. So some United fans, would stick with the 4-2-3-1 formation, but Solskjaer's been going with that formation on a regular basis this season, that 4-2-3-1. But I don't think it seems to suit our standards. I think we'll look more expansive with 3 at the back. But obviously with Bruno Fernandes, he suits a 4-2-3-1 formation, obviously. But on one of my videos I did, was it last week? Or I think it was last week, actually. I give him my best 11. And this was in a 4-2-3-1 formation, but it was my best 11. I went with David De Gea in goal, and Wan-Bissaka at right back, Lindelof and Harry Maguire as the centre-back partnerships. I went with Brandon Williams at left back. Then, obviously, Fred and Mctominway as, the central midfielders. Then I went, with Bruno Fernandes, obviously, in the number 10, because it's very imperative that Bruno Fernandes stays in that advanced role, because if he's playing in a defensive midfield role, then he could become a liability, like Ryan Giggs was saying the other week. Then, obviously, I'd put, like I mentioned, Martial on the left, Daniel James on the right, and then I'd put, Odion and Ighalo up top. So that, is my best starting M11 now, following the arrivals of Bruno Fernandes and Odion and Ighalo and that. You've currently seen it. So that would be my current best M11 and that. So now we'll delve into some of the transfer news, like I've been keeping up to date. I did say, didn't I would delve into transfer news a bit later at the beginning of the video and that. Obviously, I've been keeping up to date of what's been going on with Jack Grealish recently. Jack Grealish is a player that I do want at Manchester United in the summer. And I think he could be our first signing in the summer and our 6th signing overall under Solskjaer. That's if Solskjaer is still here in the summer transfer window, and that more than likely he will be if we obviously get Champions League football, secured for next season, and we finish obviously, within the top 6. He will be here next season, so we'll be determined to give him another season because Solskjaer's in his first full season at Manchester United at the moment. But yeah, so Jack Grealish, is a player I want because he's well Premier League proven. He's becoming an integral part of Aston Villa's team. I think he's one of their key players to progress them to the Carabao Cup final. And he is the only the age of 24, is Jack Grealish. So he has still got a lot of years ahead of him. He is obviously an attacking midfielder. He can also play as a winner, but I think he's predominantly an attacking midfielder, if I'm right. He's still got around 3 years left on his contract with Aston Villa because he's still under contract with them until 2023. Obviously, the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona and City have been in for him. I think also Arsenal have expressed an interest in Jack Grealish. But he revealed a couple of days ago, like he updated you, his preference is a move to Manchester United. So if he leaves Villa this summer, he's keen on coming to Old Trafford. He allegedly said he agreed the personal terms ahead of a summer transfer with the club, and he's searching for a house in Manchester. His release clause has been revealed. His release clause is around £45 million in his Aston Villa contract. And this is, what it has basically said. But up until this point, Jack Grealish has spent the entirety of his career with Aston Villa. I think he had a loan spell though with Notts County at one point. But I would be excited about the prospect of him coming in because I think he'd play well alongside, Bruno Fernandes and that. That'd be a fantastic partnership, because they complement each other fantastically well. And, they're more or less the same age. They're not exactly the same age. Obviously, I think, Bruno Fernandes is 25. So Jack Grealish is it a year or just over a year or under a year younger, than Bruno Fernandes and that. But, he's well Premier League proven. And I think at Man United, he'd do well. Because obviously from now, he's to the end of his career, he's not going to spend it, his career with Aston Villa, is he? He's not going to spend the entirety of his career with Villa, till he, obviously ends his career. He's going to obviously at some point want to rejuvenate his career, and it could actually, be this summer. So I'm convinced, we can get Jack Grealish in the summer. I think we'll probably have to pay maybe 45 million minimum to, meet his release clause, or may have to pay a bit more than what's actually in his release clause. We may have to pay around £60 million or something like that. So he's one player on our agenda who we could go in for in the summer. Obviously, Koulibaly is another player on our agenda that I've been keeping up to date with recently. I don't know if this will happen in the summer, but reports have been coming out saying that, Man United emerges as the favourites to sign him. There's quite a few other clubs that are in for him. He is going to cost us a substantial amount, his Koulibaly, in the summer if we have got any chances of getting him. So if we've got any chances of getting him, we're going to have to, make him our most expensive signing. So we're going to have to pay more than the £89 million that were paid for Paul Pogba, because Koulibaly's got around a £127 million release clause in his Napoli contract. So this is what's been confirmed. Don't forget, Man United went in for Koulibaly last summer, but obviously, we didn't get him because Napoli had no intention of selling him last summer. And Napoli, I think, must have wanted around 150 million last summer. So that's double than what Liverpool paid for Virgil van Dijk. But obviously, wasn't willing to pay 150 million pounds for Koulibaly, obviously. But, Napoli are enjoying a bad season, so in that aspect, that means Koulibaly could be moved on in the summer. But are Man United going to be determined to pay the £127 million, for Koulibaly, and that is the question. Obviously, he's never played in the Premier League, but he's a highly experienced centre-half. I think now he's into his 6th season with Napoli. He's enjoyed 5 years with them. Napoli would make a huge profit on the player because they only paid £6 or £7 million him from Genk back in 2014. And before he was at Genk, he was at Metz. But, do you think Manchester United need to recommend another centre-half in? I think it will be beneficial, because I know that Harry Maguire's done really, really well for us. I think he's had a few bad games, but, we still seem to be conceding goals. And imagine that, Harry Maguire and Koulibaly as a centre-back partnership in our back line and that. We got Harry Maguire instead last summer because obviously when we start on Koulibaly, and obviously now Harry Maguire is the club's permanent captain. And I think the club made the right decision by giving him the captaincy in that, because to be fair, Harry Maguire does show great leadership. He got the captaincy, obviously, reflecting on the departure of Ashley Young and that. But yeah, so should Man United get Koulibaly in the summer? He's still under contract, I think, with Napoli until 2023. But overall, anyway, we've been long admirers of the player. And, James Maddison, we've been in for him. Obviously, I'm very sceptical now that we're going to get him in the summer because, like I mentioned, he's closing in on signing a new contract with Leicester. Yes, he is. And he is initially our preference over Jack Grealish, but now we know we're not going to get James Maddison. Well, it's looking likely we're not going to get him in the summer, so we've turned our intentions on Jack Grealish and that. Jadon Sancho, Man United are still, in for him. We've been long admirers of Jadon Sancho and that, so yeah, we will see what happens in the summer and that. But definitely no more investment is needed in the squad. But, a hell of a lot of money's been spent at Manchester United, like I mentioned. I think we spent nearly £1 billion on recruiting new players in the last 6 or 7 years. And this is disregarding, what we spent under Alex Ferguson, because also as well, take into account Ferguson developed a lot of young players. So I think around, £67 million was spent under David Moyes, and he brought Juan Mata in and Marion Fellaini in. Obviously, Fellaini's now not here, but Juan Mata is still here. Obviously, Louis van Gaal, he spent a good over £200 million on recruiting new players in. He brought the likes of Falcao, Di Maria, Morgan Schneiderlin, Sebastian Schweinsteiger, Memphis Depay, Daley Blind. He brought all them players in, did Louis van Gaal. And there's still some players here now from the Louis van Gaal era. You've got Martial still here. You've got Luke Shaw still here from the Louis van Gaal era. A lot of the players that we've brought in the Louis van Gaal era, though, have actually left now. So take that into account. And, Jose Mourinho, he spent, £400 million at the football club, or just under £400 million. He recommended 11 players in. And take into account, the vast majority of these players are Jose Mourinho. So Solskjaer is still inheriting the vast majority of them. He's inheriting some of Louis van Gaal's players. He's inheriting, Mattery from the David Moyes era. There's still a couple of players here from the Alex Ferguson era, so you can still quite frankly say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United team and that, because like I mentioned, there's only 5 players that are currently his. Yeah, so yeah. And obviously I've been keeping up to date, of what's been going on with Mauricio Pochettino. Obviously, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to be sacked by Manchester United, it's very, very imminent that Pochettino will be our next manager. Of course, if Man United recommend Pochettino in, he will be our 5th manager, 5th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era and that. If Pochettino is to come in, it won't be until, the end of the season, because obviously if Pochettino comes in now or he gets another job before the end of the season, then Tottenham would be entitled to £10 million in compensation, basically. But I've been reading recent reports about Pochettino. He did say he's interested in taking the managerial role at Man United. And he did obviously, say that he hasn't been in negotiations with the football club and that. And I did say I was convinced he will be Manchester United manager next season. But we've been long admirers of Pochettino. And I think the mistake Man United did make was not recommending him in after the sacking of Jose Mourinho in December 2018. And, this is when we should have recommended Pochettino in. But our preference was Solskjaer, and we give Solskjaer the job on a permanent basis because he did well, when he was the interim manager and that, But Solskjaer was a cheaper solution than Pochettino and that, but I think Pochettino is comparison to Solskjaer. I think he's a much better manager than Solskjaer. He hasn't won out in terms of silverware, but that's my only element of concern. Pochettino did enjoy a good 5.5-year tenure with Tottenham. He got them to fourth place finishes, got them to the first ever Champions League final last season. So he did really, really well. And I think Tottenham made a mistake sacking him. But Pochettino gave his overarching view on this sacking after it just happened last year. And he said then he wanted an immediate return to management. He wants to remain in England, obviously. Obviously, before he was at Tottenham, he was at Southampton. And he guided Southampton to their highest ever finish in the Premier League. And before that, he was at Espanyol, was Pochettino. And he began his managerial career in 2009. So he's been managing now for just over a decade as Pochettino. But yeah, I would love him to be Manchester United manager. And I'm not saying that, we'd be challenging for titles or we'd be, you know, winning titles under Pochettino, but I just think we'd look a much better team under Pochettino, you know, than what we do look under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, basically. But, you know, he's been linked to a few managerial roles. Don't forget, recently Atletico Madrid were in for him, you know, Bayern Munich were in for him early on this season, you know, Real Madrid have been long admirers of him in that. But Pochettino is a manager that's, I think, his philosophy would be right for Man United. He's good at developing young players, like he's proven in his 5.5 years with Tottenham. But yeah, he will be Man United's next manager if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to be sacked by the football club. It's not always the right solution, persistently sacking managers, because like I mentioned, we've already sacked 3 managers since the Alex Ferguson era, don't forget. So it's not always the right solution in that. But we have enjoyed our worst start to a Premier League season for 30 years. So up until this point in the Premier League era, we've never been as bad as this, basically. And we're now currently, sitting 8th in the Premier League, you know, which is very, very bad, of course. So I think, you know, as long as, you know, we get any European football for next season and we finish within the top 6, Solskjaer, you know, will be given another season at Manchester United and that. But I've already said to you on my recent videos why I don't think he's the right manager for Man United. Too inexperienced as a manager, was a good player, but just doesn't have that experience as a manager and that. But not all of the blame stems from him, like I mentioned. You know, there's cultural problems at the club, and we need someone to come in to change the culture of the club. You know, there's a lot of things that do need to change at Manchester United, and there's also a lot of problems on the pitch. A lot of aspects of our game need to improve in that. So take that into account. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes, below on this channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.